Hi everyone, Curtis here from Goth Rider Creations, and in a slight change to the plan, I wanted to start doing some interviews. Friends of mine, people I know, very creative, very interesting things, not specifically just guitars, but anything really. Talent comes in all kinds of forms. So I would like to introduce you to my brother from another mother, a legendary digital artist, and all-round an all-right bloke. This is my good friend Mike Keeling-Smith.
Hi guys. Hi guys.
So,
it's nice to be called an all-right bloke.
well, occasionally.
Sometimes. It's been known. I've been called worse.
Well, yeah, that is true. You've been called a lot worse.
Yeah, tragic.
But yeah, no, me and Mike have been good friends for, Jesus, 13, 14, 15 years. I can't even remember how long it's been.
I mean, my maths isn't right, but about 2009.
About 2009 we met. We were both doing shocking admin for a local government.
Tragic.
Yeah, it's good fun. But yeah, no, we kind of bonded over our love of steampunk, diesel punk, cyberpunk, and other punk genres.
And cigarette breaks, don't forget.
Well, of course, nicotine breaks, definitely. It's the only way you get to talk to people at work, unless they're sitting opposite you. Yeah, big love for the Fallout series of computer games.
Oh yeah, baby.
And yeah, basically anything post-apocalyptic. So yeah, we became friends, and I was always blown away by specifically your digital art more than anything, because I mean, on the professional grade, I mean, we're talking a few years ago, the movie side of things for rendering work and visual effects, people would generally have between like 50 and 100 layers to their images.
Yeah.
What was the average you were knocking out for your?
About 250.
It's insane levels of detail, and I've never met anyone that goes to that much detail for just a project, not even just your professional stuff. I mean, even
You're making me blush, man.
No, I'm being straight with you. I've never been able to draw in my entire life. You know, I can do technical drawing because I'm following a plan, but you know, just the stuff that you do just out of the back of your head is just, it's always impressed me. So, you know, hence why I wanted to chat to you. So, I mean, first question really is, where do you think your kind of creative, artistic side came from? Can you pinpoint any point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, a lot of my inspiration comes from things like your 80s action movies with your huge sort of muscular heroes and your gorgeous babes, and you know, things like that. I think The Matrix was a turning point, really, in terms of the mainstream acceptance of almost fetishistic sort of clothing and things, such as if you think about Trinity's outfit.
Trinity in the PVC, Trinity. Neo with the jacket, and
the sunglasses
boots
and stuff like that. Yeah. So think about that. That's the kind of inspiration that I draw from. Sort of 90s kind of sci-fi, kind of fantasy kind of thing, and I take it from there. But I mean, a lot of my inspiration comes from, you know, steampunkery and cyberpunkery and diesel punkery and anything punkery.
Yeah, me and you are the same on that one. Definitely.
Any kind of opportunity to stick it to the man, and I'm right there. Yeah,
I like that. But I mean, like, from an early age, were you always drawing? Did you have an interest?
Oh yeah, always, constantly drawing, and Lego as well. Oh god, I was always building with Lego and stuff, and to a certain extent still do now, but not in a kind of a extreme way like some people do. But certainly I will dabble. But no, certainly from a young age I was drawing what was in my head, and invariably it was the combination of man and machine, and going from there actually. And as it sort of led into my teenage years, it led into sort of really basic and shockingly poor comic strips, and then I got into writing and things like that, because I figured that was a way that I could express myself without limits. You know, that there would be no limit to my ability if I could just write what was in my head. And then from there, I went to art college.
Yes.
And principally learned how to visualize what was in my head in digital means.
Because that's where you more fell into more of the digital means, because obviously that's when the technology allowed, because we're old farts, but that's when the computers allowed such things.
Yeah, I remember back in 97, it would have been 96, 97, when I started media studies, and there was one computer in the entire college that had the ability to do video editing.
Windows 3.1?
Yeah, something like that.
I remember those days.
And it was only the really good, really smart kids, the teachers' pets, that were allowed to use this really big computer. You know, and it had a scanner and it had all of the video editing stuff and whatnot. And yeah, I was never good enough to use it. And so I started by using Paint, of all things, to try to...
To this day, I still use Paint. It's my favourite piece of software. It's worrying, I know.
It is worrying. It's really worrying. You need to
dinosaur
update.
Now.
You need to update, bro. You really do. You know, upgrades and all that shit. But yeah, so from there, I got into changing. I remember the first one I did was I took a picture of a girl who was standing on a flying surfboard prop that I made.
Yeah.
Which was just a piece of wood with some plywood bent over it and painted. And then from there I removed the background on Paint and I put a background in that was, and this is really embarrassing actually, but it was Big Ben but with a digital clock face.
Nice.
Because it was so really ridiculously overt. And from there I got my tutor's attention. He said, well, you know, you really should use the big computer for this kind of stuff. Maybe you should use Photoshop. And I went,
thank you.
Photoshop. And so that's where the love affair began.
Because, yeah, I mean, you are like crazily pro level when it comes to sort of Photoshop, kind of like the digital rendering and things like that. So, I mean, I've tried my whole life to attempt. He's even tried to teach me, and I could never get my head around it. But I mean, it's also when you got into doing some of your video stuff as well. You used to do short videos and stuff at college. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, we used to. When I first started, we were using VHS tapes and those silly little wheels that you edit with. You know,
for any of the kids, they're the little like black squares with like magnetic tape.
Kids, serious? How many kids watch your channel, man?
No, my average viewer is probably in his 60s. So
if
anything, I'm teaching you guys to suck eggs.
Yes, so absolutely everyone knows what VHS tapes is, right? So I started on these VHS tapes and these enormous, great big cameras.
The big old Cine's, yeah.
And we just started doing just random chase scenes with popular music from the time, and then sort of from there we sort of started, I say we, you know, my friends and I sort of decided that we were going to make the music, and so we did that, and then we decided we were going to make the props, and so we did that, and it went from there really, and it culminated really in you helping us make one of the props for one of our videos, which was absolutely both brilliant and hilarious in the same token.
But this is the funny story. I quite like this one because these guys are all, I mean, you, Dale, Nick, I'll throw up a photo of us as a weird little crew. I met those guys through you because you've been mates with them for years from school. And we got out drinking a couple of times, nice people, and then you guys wanted to do a video out in the woods. And we planned one of these camping trips. We do this sort of semi-regularly, a couple of times a year. And it was like, right, we're going to shoot a music video out in the woods. I was like, cool, okay, I'm down. Yeah. I knew nothing about filming. I'd done nothing of anything. The most for me, for fabrication side of things, was like doing cosplay and costumes and stuff like that. So low budget as hell. And then that was perfect,
really
perfect for
budget.
You. Yeah,
really
geez.
Low budget.
And he messages me about 2 weeks before the camping trip, and he went, Curtis, have you ever seen Lost? I went, yeah, I know of it. He went, can you build me a hatch? What the fuck do you mean by hatch? And he showed me a still of, you know, if you ever seen Lost, you know, the secret bunker under the hill, you've got a big metal hatch and you go down the stairs. He went, I want you to build me one of them. Now, Mike is one of my favourite kind of clients because
I don't pay anything.
Well, yeah, there is that. But in my mind, you've got 3 types of clients, and this goes for guitar building, this goes for props, it goes for pretty much anything. You've either got the client who doesn't give a flying one, and they just want to pay for a thing, and you've got no input at all. Or you've got the complete other end of the scale, is you get the absolute micromanaging arsehole who wants exactly what's in their head and nothing else, and will literally make you revision it and redo it 22 times and won't pay for the process.
Yeah, I know that one.
We both know that one. Mike is perfectly in the middle, because he gives you just enough information to say, I roughly want this, it needs to look kind of like this, it needs to be that colour. Everything else is yours.
Off you go, buddy.
And this is the kind of thing I absolutely love, because you've got a bit of creative freedom, but you've got some constraints that you're not just throwing random ideas into the air. And yeah, I think I made that over a weekend. It was a palette that I cut up, some chipboard, some grey primer, and I nicked a handle from someone's shed and I never returned it. And a scrap piece of perspex, and that was it. And I just made this random palette thing and dragged it along to this camping trip.
It was stunning. It turned up. We were at this camping trip, and we didn't know what to expect, because we just turned up with these cameras, and we put up our tents and stuff. And eventually we got to texting Curtis. Eventually, where are you? What are you doing? And everything. And suddenly he just rocks up carrying this enormous sort of pallet that's been, transformed into this portable bunker hatch. and we looked at him in disbelief, because we were like, where did this come from? And he sat there and he'd made it, and diligently, with the appropriate detail that you come to expect from Curtis. And he carried it on the fucking train. This door, essentially a door, that he carried on the train all the way here. And I mean, let's not forget that that's not the only thing you made.
No, either. It was the Pit Boy as well.
The Pit Boy out of a cheese grater. Fuck, Jesus.
Anyone who's seen the Fallout TV show or knows of the games, you've got the Pit Boy, but you didn't want a Pit Boy. Your brief to me was, it needs to be a Pit Boy, but you wanted it to look more like the one from the Predator.
Yeah.
More metal.
Yep.
But it had to have a screen, and I think it was a digital photo frame you got, wasn't it?
I gave you a digital photo frame, and I'd made all of this.
And you made the animations.
Complete with spelling mistakes.
Oh, that was brilliant.
God,
yeah,
that was loser.
Yeah. And the brief again was literally, it needs to be something that goes on the arm. I want it to look kind of dark and metallic. It needs to have a screen that we can animate certain visuals on, and then a couple of LEDs and a couple of buttons.
Oh, it had a pipe that connected to the gun as
well,
didn't it?
It had a socket that ran around to the gun.
Yeah.
And yeah, cheese grater from the pound shop, a load of filler, a 1 pound spray can, a couple of old LEDs and some bits and bobs that I had lying around. And it kind of looked the part, and you got those Ghostbusters goggles as well.
It's good to hear you say that, actually, because I thought you spent a fortune on that, but to hear you say that you only spent a couple of pounds here or there.
Anyone that knows my channel knows that everything's on a budget.
No, I feel better about that now. That's something that's been bothering me for years.
But the worst part is that, I mean, as you know, I'm not a small bloke, and I just thought that I was just dropping off these props, and then I'll be in the background and I'll watch these guys film. No. These bastards had me running through stinging nettles and fucking brambles in 20-degree heat, fully clothed with combat gear, combat vest and everything, goggles, bloody armbands and God knows what else, running in the woods chasing our mate Nick.
That is my bad.
I nearly died.
That is my bad.
But to be fair, I mean, this is the first time I'd ever gotten involved, and I never really knew what was going on with sort of like getting the right film camera angles and whatever else. And you and Dale kind of tag teaming the director, producer, camera operator thing. It worked really well.
Well, let's tell the story properly, though.
Oh, go on.
Right, in that this was 2000 and 2010, maybe?
About that, yeah.
About 2010. And this is before, you know, we all had access to GoPros and mobile phones. Even.
Oh, yeah, even smartphones.
Because, you know, the smartphones were just really rudimentary about then. I think iPhone came out in, what, 2009, maybe?
And we couldn't afford them. Yeah, exactly.
We couldn't afford those, right? But anyway, so, I mean, even if they would be just a really low res anyway. So I was working at a university at the time, and I managed to bag a sort of free rental of a Canon DSLR for the weekend, which was great, but at the same time meant that was our recording device.
And you only had 2 batteries, didn't you?
I only had 2 batteries, yeah.
Now I remember.
And so we're recording, and every scene matters, because we've only got about an hour and a half recording time. And the SD cards that we were using were very small, so we didn't have a lot of...
I didn't think you could get bigger than like 32 gig back then. Even that was like major, yeah.
So, but the fact that I got all this stuff from the university meant that we got all this high grade kit.
Yeah.
Say high grade kit, it wasn't.
It wasn't high grade kit, but it's better than we could afford.
Yeah, if I'd have asked the different people, I probably could have got a really big camera and really good, but it wasn't. So we're limited by the amount of time, power, and recording sort of storage that we have. And so we're rushing through and trying to go, okay, right, we need you to run from here to here, and we've only got one take, you know, and we're getting critical battery now. We're getting to like you know, 10% left or whatever, and we're like, we've got to go, we've got to do this, everything's got to matter. We're going to record this, and we're going to do everything in sequence so we know where we are, which is ridiculous because you don't do it in sequence.
No. We're
going to do everything in sequence so we know exactly where we are, and you know, if we have to come back another day and do it, then that's fine, whatever. And this cretin kept deliberately messing up by throwing Pulp Fiction quotes into the middle of everything that we were doing. And we were like, seriously, man?
I think my favourite of those was Dale was laying on the floor with the camera tilted up so you could see the gravel
it is
coming up
shirt,
to the lens.
His nice
in his lovely
shirt.
Oh yes, yeah. Dale doesn't do scruffy. And yeah, he's laying in this muddy track with the camera lens just in line with the track, and he wanted to see just my feet trudging towards the camera.
It was an epic shot.
It was a beautiful shot, absolutely. And then, yeah, there's just me constantly just like kneeling down to look at the camera and just coming up with random offensive quotes. And yeah,
let's not beat about Bush. They were ridiculously offensive.
Well, what can I say? You know, I tried to make sure they weren't even going to be in the gag reel.
Yeah, we're clearly not going to go there.
Yeah, we're not doing Shaun of the Dead. We're not we're not going to relive really offensive stuff. But yeah, and I never heard Dale swear in my entire life, and this tirade that came out of his face was amazing.
Man,
he was like, "I'm on 3%. Can you just do the fucking thing like I asked you to?" And I'm like, sorry. And we just about managed it. I think the camera died on the last shot, and then you managed to fade it out in the edit, didn't you? Yeah.
Ultimately, I probably would have liked about 20 to 30 minutes more footage to play with.
Yeah.
You know, but it was, it was good. It was good.
And this was my first experience with these guys, and I mean, they're all super talented. I mean, Nick and Dale, they're amazing photographers. We used to go camping, and Nick would be messing with about 9 million different settings on his camera, and then poke the fire and get these amazing kind of shots. And yes, you guys have always amazed me because I don't come from that background. So, you know, only in the last few years I'm learning about cinematography and whatever else. But you know, you guys were always just next level to me. But I always enjoyed it because I kind of did the physical stuff that you guys
couldn't.
Well, I wouldn't say couldn't, but you weren't set up for. You didn't have a workshop. You didn't have the tools. I mean, I know you build stuff, but you know. So I kind of became like the designated props maker for these guys for a few years.
In point of fact, the props were phenomenal. They really were, and that hatch lasted in those woods for years.
Oh, we found it a couple of years later. We actually went back to the same spot, and we found it, and it was all weathered and beaten up, and it looked cool.
I left it behind because there was no way I was carting that back on the train.
Yeah, no, that was heavy as hell.
No way. I mean, I'm not stupid.
Thanks, mate.
But no, so it stayed there, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we came back a few years later, and it was still there, sort of looking really sorry for itself, but it was still there. We had to I mean, being in the woods has its own sort of benefits in that there's fallen trees everywhere, and in order to get someone underneath.
Oh, that was an absolute nightmare.
It was, because I thought we're going to have to dig a hole, and
yeah, we were going to spend 2 days with shovels.
We were only there for one night. We
Yeah.
only had this really silly fold-up shovel and everything, and so there was no way. And so what we did is we propped it up on a fallen tree.
Initially it was we were looking for like an uprooted tree that was going to have like a hole underneath it naturally, and we could put logs, and then we didn't have the means to cut down logs, and it became a big thing. And then you were looking for a couple of fallen trees that were side by side, so then we could prop it up on it and then get Nick to kind of crawl from underneath. And we couldn't find anything suitable at all. And who came up with the idea for it going sideways?
Yeah.
Whose idea was that? I can't even remember.
Do you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say that was my idea.
Yeah, you're a legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, again, I didn't know much about filming, and I just never thought that and I think I was holding it up.
Yeah.
I was holding it up with my hands just out of camera. Just out of camera, sort of to the side.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think we'd ever talk about this. Nick basically having to crawl between my legs. And then
I forgot about
we just had the camera turned at 90 degrees to its side, so it just looked like he was coming out of this hatch, but in reality he had to pop the door, drop it down to make it not look like gravity had dropped it, and then ran forwards to make it look like he was how you got that shot to work.
In all fairness, I've also got footage of, because we took it as well, of it just laying on the floor, and him looking like he was about to get out.
Oh no,
of
that
it.
was it. Yes, because you cut it because we had him underneath it, and you could see his face coming through the glass. And then lifted the hatch, and then we cut to the hatch dropping open.
Do you know what? That was a really good shot, though. Yeah, it was really good.
It came out really well.
I used After Effects in post production to mask out, because we put a little bit of black sack underneath.
Yeah, some bin bags or something.
So to mask that out, to make it look like it was a deep hole, I used After Effects and used some masks and bits and pieces to make it look like it was conceivably a deep hole, rather than it being a black sack that he was just jumping out from. And ultimately, I mean, the whole thing really stank of low tech,
low budget,
punky kind of aesthetic, but at the same time
that kind of works with your style, though, to be fair.
Can't argue. It worked okay. It came out looking all right.
I thought it was really cool.
And I would say the client was happy, but the client was me.
Yeah.
So
I
was happy with.
You're happy.
I was happy with what happened. Yeah. We came out of it with a probably 60 second.
It was about 60-second video.
Footage. I appropriated some soundtrack from the Apocalypto movie of all things. With that Mel Gibson movie, and used that over the top, real throat singing, and it was really cool, actually.
Didn't you cut it to Prodigy as well one time? I vaguely seeing an edit with Prodigy.
It was
that
Noisia.
Cool. Oh,
Noisia.
Noisia. Yeah.
Oops. But yeah, I did it to that as well. But that's the beauty of video editing. In post production, you can do whatever you want. So I did that as well, and it came out looking really, really, really good. There was this bit of footage where you were running towards the camera, and I superimposed sort of flashes around the muzzle of the gun and stuff. That was really good. We did a shot where we were filming through the goggles that you were wearing, which turned out really good as well. I mean, let's not forget Nick and his brave jump into the bramble pit as well. Wow. Poor good sod. God, that was. And me, he was lacerated.
he got
by brambles.
He got ripped to shreds. Yeah. And the kind of Matrix style dance that me and Nick had to do.
Yeah, right.
I know me and Dale had to do. Yeah. Dale was filming with the camera, and he wanted a close up of me with this gun kind of trying to search, and you wanted the whole kind of spinning background, and I didn't know how these shots were done, and it was literally just like Dale holding onto this camera on my shoulder, and me and him spinning each other through these woods to get the panoramic view, and I was getting so dizzy.
Do you remember we did that thing where we set the tripod up and you were holding the tripod on your chest?
Oh yes.
And we put the camera like that.
Yeah.
And so as you were walking around,
as I was walking around, he was filming.
That was really cool.
And this is like 20 years before, you know, Will Smith did it recently for the Bad Boys movie.
Really well, didn't it? That worked out really well.
I love the drone shots in that. That was amazing. Because you also do a lot of the music yourself, don't you?
I do, yes. I started in probably about 94, 95 using Octamed on the Amiga.
That's pretty old school.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Really bedroom DJ stuff. And haven't really progressed. I currently use Med Sound Studio 2 on the PC, which is available for free.
Shameless plug for whoever owns the software.
I think he's dead. But you know, anyway,
shameless plug for the family.
Irrespective of that, I currently use that to track samples together, and it's good. It works for me. I've not got any professional ambition to do it, so I don't really care. So it works. It works with my sort of really lo-fi aesthetic.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's slightly industrial, quite sort of sample based, but heavy sort of drums. I mean, I love it personally. I mean, it works to my kind of like dark, early drum and bass stroke goth kind of thing. It's got an EBM style without being EBM, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I draw a lot of inspiration from jungle.
Yeah,
and that's really how I started to get into the kind of thing.
Yeah,
and all of the sort of early sort of jungle produced on the Amiga.
Yeah,
and went from there. Started to sort of get hold of some mods, as they're called. And
Goldie started out on Amiga, didn't he? I think
so.
I think the early Shy FX definitely was doing that kind of thing.
So got into that, and then when I upgraded to PC, and it was only really recently that the internet sort of came into fruition, that the ability to gain free samples of things.
Yeah,
really
rather than having to pay out for the big studio stuff. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Or listening to a track and waiting for that specific moment where you can cut this one bass line out.
Just this one little tiny chunk to be able to then replicate out.
Yeah, and God knows it never used to scale up and down properly, so it was always out of tune.
Yeah.
But at the same time, recently things like Lalal AI, which allows you to strip the stems out of songs, and things like the website Looperman, which offers not free, but certainly examples of different instruments, songs and vocals and things, has this really become interesting again.
Yeah.
So and the capability of the PC to handle bigger samples compared to the 8-bit Amiga or 16-bit Amiga is phenomenal. The amount of memory that you've got to play with and the amount of tracks that you can use and stuff is great. But I mean, I'm aware of the fact that this is not the best way to make music or anything, but at the same time it suits my sort of lo-fi, sort of punky aesthetic.
Well, I mean, it's also a good thing, because I mean, a lot of the people who watch my channel are mostly into the guitar side of things, but my friend Mark Gutierrez, who's also part of the Guitar Builders Collective, he does a lot of work with kind of plugging his guitars into MIDI, running them through synthesizer software and sampling software, and he creates really amazing soundscapes, and is literally just kind of modding the guitar to make it work. But you keep it really basic in that you kind of just find your drum tracks, you find your bass tracks, and then you can use instruments to do that. But if you want to go really bass level, you don't need to. You can take the samples you need, stitch everything together, and it's always impressed me that, because I've never really had that ear for it.
Really rough. I do things in a really rough, sort of choppy sort of sense, in that I like to take what sort of popular culture has made and given me, and cut it up and put it back, you know. And I do that in not just the music, but also the video and the artwork and all sorts of things. And that's always been my sort of basic approach to things.
Well, this is where I wanted to come to your channel, because Mike has a channel, KOSEF, Kings of the Southeastern Front.
Kings of the Southeastern Front.
Where did that come from?
Well, you know, we've always considered ourselves to be special.
We are definitely special.
It comes from a long way back. I mean, the Southeastern Front is something that I've always called this particular area of the country.
Yeah.
And
we are in North Kent, by the way. We're just down near Bluebell Hill.
I've always called this part of the country that. I've got a passion for this part of the country, irrespective of its problems and its populace. I think that this particular part of the country is beautiful. It's really wonderful. There's a lot of culture, a lot of history here, and yeah, it's just the Southeast. Well, going back to the music for a second, the first sort of album that I made was called Trouble on the Home Front, and so the word front has always sort of been
stuck with you, yeah.
Been interesting for me, you know, in that it's the forefront of opposition. It's the point where, you know, one side meets another, you know, and so the Southeastern Front would be the part of the country where one side meets another, and, you know, well, what more to say? We're the Kings, baby.
So anyone that's not seen it, it's basically we do go on these camping trips quite often, and Mike has a really serious interest in not only Second World War history, but also kind of discovering abandoned buildings, a lot of very post-apocalyptic kind of things. I mean, we constantly talk about, you know, we were planning to go to Chernobyl, you know, a decade before it became popular after the TV show, although
Oh my gosh.
right now it's probably not the best time to be going.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, I'm not going to the
great.
front.
Not great.
But yeah, so we've always had that kind of interest in those things. But you actually explore these, don't you? You seek out these kind of abandoned buildings and abandoned structures, and you kind of document them, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a Google Earth map, which has got tons and tons and tons of pins on of places around that are, you know, whether they be dilapidated Napoleonic forts, or whether they be Second World War
pillboxes,
diggings.
and, yeah.
I research as to where they are, and then plan trips to go and see them. And assuming, of course, that entry is easy and unobstructed.
And not completely illegal.
Yes, because let's make that perfectly clear.
Yes, we do no exploring on illegal grounds, that we admit to. We've never been on MOD land ever, I promise. Never.
Never. Just once. But
never.
That's for a different reason. But anyway, we go and we look around, and I document them, and I video them, and I try to make them look attractive.
I love the style. I mean, I will link in the description. Please go and have a look. I mean, the combination of the music, the cinematography. I mean, you basically just hike through the woods with is it a GoPro?
It's GoPro, GoPro Hero 8.
And it's literally just hike through, walk through, get all the shots and everything. It's just, I always love the edits, because I mean, they're not long episodes. You really condense everything down, but it's nice to see kind of the journey through the woods and out to where you're going, see all these amazing old buildings and these amazing, like, dilapidated locations, and then combined with the music and the kind of effects you use afterwards, it gives it a real kind of post-apocalyptic walk through the world, and I always love that style.
Well, I enjoy that aesthetic. You know, I enjoy the idea that despite our biggest mistakes, there will be something beyond. You know, and I enjoy the idea that I enjoy the power that gives me, in that no matter what huge mistakes I might make in my life, that there's always something afterward.
Yeah.
You know, just to get ridiculously deep for just a second. And this is a really overt way of suggesting that. You know, but also a way of demonstrating how these installations that were once really critical have now been left to
rot,
rack and ruin.
Because a lot of them are sort of Second World War, or sort of old factories, old stores and things like that. And it's amazing when it's no longer needed. It just gets cast away, half buried and forgotten about. And it's
there's
cool.
There's a lot of themes that run through that when you think about it. The theme of nature retaking what it's lost, by ivy and nettles and brambles growing over this ridiculously strong concrete stuff, and things like that. And also, the idea of something important that's been lost.
Yeah.
Also the idea of safety underground.
Definitely.
From a utoral sort of point of view. One feels safer when one is underground, when one can't be touched, when one can't be bombed. And then to go down to these places and to see them so decayed is challenging to our idea of what is safe.
It's a lot deeper than I thought. For me, it's more the aesthetic. I kind of just, I love seeing.
Sorry, I went there, buddy.
I kind of love the dishevelled look and sort of like the aesthetic more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you take it a lot deeper, and I kind of love that. That's the passion you have for that kind of what you do, and
I'll take that.
I enjoy sort of being able to, if these are trips that I can't go on because I get to go on many, unfortunately. It's nice to be able to see where you're going and
Thanks,
sort
man.
of these crazy places. So, any plans for the future?
They are crazy places.
Yeah.
They are crazy. Yes, I have plans for the future. I have plans to go on a water-based adventure to a specific island with a specific installation on it.
Yes.
Which,
the only problem is he can't swim, so we're coming up with plans on that one. I forgot about that one.
But I'm not going to swim there. Who's going to swim?
I will.
Who's going to swim in the rivers in this country? Seriously.
I'm the one that's going to have to drag you there on some kind of boat that we've got to buy. But yeah, I mean, for like the channel or anything else, because I know you were talking about like getting more into your video editing side of things and sort of extending that skill of yours further.
I've been getting into animation and motion graphics recently.
Nice.
And I think there's an awful lot of scope for that. So in the immediate future, the idea is to take some of my older artwork and animate them.
Nice.
Just brief, really, really short, ridiculous, 10-second jobs or 20-second jobs or something, just to animate things, make sparks come out of things, make lights flash, make people move, make steam come out of places.
So more just adding VFX to kind of your existing stockpile of work. Yeah,
absolutely. I find the idea that I could use an AI app to do this interesting and challenging in that I want to do that, and I've been resisting AI.
A lot of people have. It's kind of one of these weird things. I mean, for myself, I've been recently designing a lot of guitars, and
good guitars.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, my friend Mark Gutierrez did an episode about how you can just use AI and make these really insane guitars that could never exist in the real world, like sort of very very Geiger-esque kind of looks to them. And I go the opposite way in that I look through these AI sites and I search post-apocalyptic guitars, space guitars, very basic keywords. And then you can see these ones that come in and you go, well, that can't work in the real world.
Yeah.
But if I modify it slightly and I change that and I make that scale a little bit better and I put, the normal 6 strings are on it rather than 97 strings, it could actually work. And I love the idea that you can add to your own inspiration by just kind of having that AI to kind of point you in a different direction.
Yeah.
That's how I prefer to use it.
I mean, I read in respect to dead internet theory that, and this isn't dead internet theory, but it's related to it, in that they reckon the boffins, the boffins.
The brains,
boffins. They reckon that 99% of all content on the internet, new content on the internet, will be AI generated by 2025.
Yeah.
That's 99% of content on the internet. And through my work as a graphic designer, I've found that when I'm looking for stock images, the majority of results that come back when I'm searching these sites, like Shutterstock or iStock or Adobe Stock, that the majority of them are AI generated.
Or at least AI modified
or
images.
AI modified, which is ridiculous. And AI has become a part of my process. You know, I'm not going to deny that because it's useful. But at the same time, I've not actively asked any AI to create an image for me.
This is it. It's more, I mean, especially from our creative process, it's more about using the AI to speed up a process that would take a human forever. So masking out an image for a video, or, you know, duplicating certain parts of it, having the computer do that would speed things up immensely. But just creating from scratch, I mean, a lot of my friends in the creative world are really against the AI because they're taking images the AIs find online and then taking their twist on it and spitting it out as an AI generated image.
There's
and
all sorts
the
of
vast majority
there,
exactly, so it kind of nullifies a lot of copyright and a lot of intellectual property rights. But I mean, it depends on where it's going to go, I guess, but that's a different conversation.
I think, at this point in 2024, it's rudimentary at best. You know, there's some staggering results that have come from AI generation, but certainly in the work that I do, whenever I've tried it, it's been somewhat less than satisfactory. You know, and so as such, I've thought, wow, I'd better just do that myself then. You know, and as it happens, you know, I've got the skill set to do that. So you know, it's been all right. But
and if anyone doesn't know, this is the gentleman that's made all the graphics for my channel. So yeah, there's definitely some skills there. But no, that's awesome, man. Thank you very much. It's nice to sort of put out there kind of some of the creative people I know, because, you know, I know a lot of talented people, thankfully, over the years, and it's cool to take a different spin and sort of see different people's approaches to their creative world. It's not just building things, it's not just, you know, modifying things, it's, you know, you can do anything with anything, you know. Creative ability isn't just cutting up a piece of wood. So
I like the idea of, I mean, I liken it to subcontracting. You know, Anthony Gormley famously, when he was doing his field installation, hired an awful lot of people to make these clay models. Lots and lots and lots of little tiny clay people that fill up an art gallery, and it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, go and look, because it is amazing. But the ultimate credit goes to Anthony Gormley. You know, and I'm very much of that opinion, in that if I were to commission someone to do a part of a project, then that project is
well,
still
you're commissioning
mine.
That project.
Because it's still mine,
it's your
and
vision.
my idea. You know, and this person has contributed, and I'd like to think that that's cool with you, in that the contributions that you've made to my projects over the years, which have been numerous.
It's all good, mate.
You know,
I've enjoyed it.
and I'm all about that sort of collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, in that, you know, I thoroughly enjoy working with people and seeing what they can bring to the table. You know?
And it's always nice as well is that a lot of people who are obsessed with a certain field of art, or, you know, whatever, they kind of stick in a really narrow niche. And I think that you should take inspiration from everything, from movies, from TV, from music, from you know, classical artists. There's a lot that can go into your kind of palette of inspiration. So, you know, for me, you know, especially with what I make, I'm not a luthier, I'm not a classically made, you know, instrument maker, but I take inspiration from what I know, and it's kind of makes it something different. And I like that you can get different people from different mediums of art as well as, you know, creation. And it's very cool, man.
Thanks, man.
Oh no, appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
And I shall see you all next time. Probably will be more guitar based stuff, but if you guys enjoyed this, then please let us know. Please throw a comment. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Definitely helps with the channel.
For sure.
And Well, yeah.
Subscribe. I mean,
and I will also put a link to Mike's channel. Please go and have a look. You know, if you want to throw him a sub as well, it's very cool stuff. And hopefully, I'll see you soon for another interview with an interesting person. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Cheers, bro.
No worries, man. Anytime. Interesting talk.